Good evening. This is the Kennebunkport Planning Board, August 21, 2024 meeting. For those of you at home, you can zoom in by looking at the website and determining where to click on the new website. It takes a little while sometimes, but we'll go ahead with the first item, and that's attendance, and it looks like we have a full board tonight. Everybody's in attendance. Thank you. And then we'll go on to the second item, which is the approval of the minutes. Now, Trish sent out minutes, and she wasn't sure of the name of one of the presenters, but she corrected that. Did everybody see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
I
Everybody
would move
okay?
to accept the minutes as amended.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay. Everybody approve? Yeah? Yes,
Yeah.
Approve.
me?
Approve, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go on to the rest of the agenda, and the first item on there is 9 Cleves Avenue, item 240704, Sandbox, Kennebunkport LLC, Beechwood renovations. And this is an initial review. So if the applicant is here or the authorized agent, you can get up and present this to the board.
Sure.
Please identify yourself.
Sure. My name is Phil Schumann. I own Beechwood Renovations. I am here for the Warren family, Sandbox KPT LLC, who owns 9 Cleves Avenue. Couple other folks involved. Chris Copey's done all of our environmental work, Lower Village Survey. Deb's taking care of the survey and site plan. And Bruce Reed is always in the background if we need him. Hopefully we don't, but we've got him if we need him. We have been under contract with Zach and Laura since last winter, and like a number of folks last January, Zach and Laura were impacted by the nor'easters that took place kind of back to back there. In fact, at one point, Zach and Laura had called to check in, and I said, I physically can't get to your house. So as soon as I am physically able to do so, I will, and we'll check on it. We were under contract to do more or less a basic renovation, some updates, some interior remodels. And when they took on water last winter, we shifted, like a number of other folks, to this is becoming a theme. How do we make this property sustainable for their kids and their grandkids in the future? So we shifted gears immediately to let's lift the property as it is, the current home. And unfortunately, during that process, when we evaluated the infrastructure of the house, it was evident that the first floor, the skeleton, so to speak, your girders, your beams, all your floor joists, your sill plate, had sustained some pretty significant rot and water damage over the years, not just from those most recent nor'easters. At one point, I could put a finger right through the main girder in the basement. And it became obvious that if we were going to lift, we were going to have to do some significant work to the underbelly of the house. And then we got to the age-old point where we started talking brass tacks about what something like that would cost, as well as the lift, as well as the renovation. You know, Zach and Laura have 4 children. They want a little bit more interior room, some habitable space. And ultimately, we landed on the difficult decision, which was to remove the existing structure and build a new structure above the floodplain that would be sustainable for years to come. We started our work with Payne building movers and home lifters back in February, I guess, looking at different options for them, and we landed on this helical pier foundation, which is a really neat option for homes like Zach and Laura's in Goose Rock. So that's ultimately why we're here, because we're in the shoreline zone. Nearly the entirety of the lot, the entirety of the building envelope is within the 75-foot setback. So that has also triggered our DEP PBR, which we received. Chris Copey handled that. We received the PBR about 3 weeks ago now, that we had met all of the requirements as it related to NERPA to go ahead and do our project from the DEP side of things. And now we are here with you kind folks looking for some assistance and some approval to get them the house that they can be in for decades and also get a roof on before it starts snowing. So we are hoping to start the project this fall. If all goes according to plan, we've got Payne lined up to do that helical pier foundation sometime in October. So that's why we're here. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer to the best of my ability. I apologize for the Postal Service mishap. We did all we could to get this to you a few weeks ago, but unfortunately that did not work out. So Galen was kind enough to ask during the last meeting if we could offer some supplemental information to you in response to the memo that Galen's team had put together. And we did that, and we brought it into the office last week, and I know Galen had passed along a digital copy as well. So that kind of answered some of the questions that Galen had upon his first review. And then I just passed around the actual engineered foundation plan for the house, just so you could have eyes on that. Galen also has a digital copy that I'm sure he'll share with you. I know that's not the ideal size to look at, but it just gives you an idea of what we've got going on there. We've got, the plan right now is and forgive me if I don't have the exact number, we're around 25 helical piers that will go into the ground there. They are a 2 3/4 inch round galvanized shaft that has 3 fans on the bottom 5 feet of the tip that go into the ground. And kind of the nice feature about that is we don't create any spoils, so we're not removing any soil as an auger would, with an auger tip that has multiple fans on it. No vibration, so no one nearby would even know that we're doing the work. It's kind of quietly being driven into the ground. And then those piers, the machine that they use actually has a gauge on it to tell them the poundage resistance that they're getting from the ground to when they hit a certain point where they feel comfortable about allowing that to serve as essentially the footing for the property. And then we will pour a traditional 4-foot concrete poured foundation over top of those 25 pilings, and then the house will sit on that. It's a creative solution to an issue of you've got to get below the frost line for your footings, but you're also more or less at sea level, so you're hitting water down there. So it's a nice solution for that. We've done all that we could to first stay within compliance of all the different shoreland requirements, while also trying to give the Warrens the house that they are seeking. We did not increase the footprint of the home in terms of the square footage. We have stayed no closer. Rather, we have gone no closer with the new site plan and the plotting of the house than the current house sits as it sits today. So we have, and we can't get any further away from that, unfortunately, because of the side setbacks to an abutter. That abutter has actually been kind enough to do a land swap with us that is obviously contingent on your approval to do the project. The abutter has offered to do a land swap that will actually replace a previous land swap that a previous owner of the property had done with that abutter. And by doing so, That allows us to get as far away as possible from the protected area while also respecting the side setbacks. The front of the property is currently over the setback. It's currently non-conforming. The new plotted house will be behind the front setback, so we now meet that setback as well. So if you look at the site plan where we plotted the house, it meets all current site or setback requirements with where we've plotted it. We have stayed under the 30% maximum for volume expansion as it relates to the current property to the new interior volume, albeit very close to 30%. But what I would offer is that we were very, very conservative in those volume calculations as it relates to the current property that's there. And if you were to actually go inside the current property that's there, it would be a little more clear as to what I mean by that. There's some interesting areas of the house and different ceiling pitches that we went with basically the smallest number. So we were being as conservative and safe in our estimates as possible as far as staying under that 30%. We weren't overcalculating.
Sorry, go ahead.
So the point I'm making is we were not trying to overestimate the current property's volume as a way of getting us more volume in the new property. And you can see those numbers in the supplemental information that we offered. We are below the height requirements for the shoreline zone and for the Goose Rocks area. We are above the floodplain. As I said, DEP approved the PBR as it relates to NERPA. And we actually are, luckily, because of the current vegetation and trees that are on the property, I actually went out and took some pictures and I emailed them to Galen since we last spoke. And if anyone wanted to see them, we just kind of staked out the new corners of the house. And we don't have to clear anything on the property as it is now to fit this new home. So no trees have to come down, no new excavation. The way the house is plotted and the way that trees sit on the lot currently, nothing has to be touched, which is obviously a plus with being in the shoreline zone, and also for homeowners that have made it clear to my business that they want to be as environmentally friendly about this process as possible. So no trees have to come down, no new clearing. We have the lot space available to us. We were concerned at first because of the way the lot lines were drawn and the way the setbacks were that we may be forced into having to take out a pair of birch trees in the rear of the property, but that is not the case. So we're lucky in that sense. Beyond that, if there's any questions, anything we can offer to you, we'd be happy to do so.
How close are those birch trees to the proposed square footage?
How close are they currently, or?
Will they be? Because you're going to drill down, you're going to affect
Sure.
roots.
Yep. Yeah, sure. So if you look at the site plan and you look at the rear right-hand corner of the property, about 15 to 20 feet off the back corner of the house is a pair of birch trees, and I have some pictures that I shared with Galen earlier. We are coming 10 feet further away from the birch trees than we currently are, so we're going to be about 20 to 25 feet away from those birch trees than the current house and deck sits now. Beyond that pair, Mrs. Perlmutter, there are no other trees that would be close enough to be impacted by the work. That was the pair that was our chief concern.
It would have been helpful if you had the trees marked on your plan.
Yeah, understood. So part of the reason why we took some pictures to kind of highlight where those trees are is because the aerial coverage is pretty thick at the end of Cleves Avenue, not just from Zach and Laura's house, but from the neighbor's house. And we felt like some ground level pictures would actually give a better, more accurate depiction of where the current property will go as it relates to some of those trees in question. So I would offer that if Galen was willing to share those with you, it would probably clear up any.
Is it this pair here?
No, I sent
were
new
loaded
ones to
today.
Galen, and I actually put some stakes in the ground just to kind of give you a reference point.
Okay.
So those pictures were from Chris Kofi's DEP permit. The pictures that I sent to Galen today actually have like the reflective stake in the ground, so you can kind of get a better idea for where we are there.
Okay. Well, I have another question.
So I'm sorry. Yep, so
Okay,
these
well,
is-
let's-
No, that's good.
Okay.
So that stake that you're looking at right there is the new back right-hand corner of the new property. And there's a second angle that I gave you that kind of peers back at that stake, and you'd be able to see the pair.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't mind, do you mind if I walk over?
That's fine, but you need to take the mic with you.
Oh, do that? Not used to working off of a mic. So thank you, Galen. If you see, this was the tree that was that we were concerned about here. Looking back on my notes, this is 12 feet off of the corner of that deck as it exists now. We go in 10 feet on the actual current deck as a reference point, and we come out another 7 feet. So to kind of give you a triangular idea of where that corner will go. And this is your stake, I think, right here, Galen. It's kind of tough to see it. Yeah.
Right here.
Yep, so that just kind of gives you an idea that, you know, the closest footing would actually be the corner of the deck as it exists now. And now we're coming over here with the corner, and then your next helical pier would be a number of feet away in each direction from that corner, further away from the tree. So there would only be one corner. That would be,
Okay.
yep.
How, that deck right now is about 190 square feet, right?
I would have to look at the plan to give you an affirmative on that in terms of the actual square
Is
footage.
the new deck about the same size? Larger?
No, it should be, let me look back at the actual building plan.
That little piece that comes along.
It's 10 feet times the length of the building, which I think is 30, so it's a little bigger in terms of square footage. Yeah, I think the depth of the building is 30 feet. I'd have to go back and confirm that.
So the new deck is larger than the old deck?
Yes, yep. That specific deck. There's a second deck on the house as well that's off the master, like a triangular deck off the master bedroom.
Well, what would be the total deck square footage?
On the existing house,
No, on the new one.
if I've got that number correct, it would be 300. 10 times 30, so 10 feet out off the building and the length of the building.
Okay, so
Yep.
it's larger than the old deck.
It is, yes.
Okay. The reason I'm asking that is that it looks like there was already, in addition to the house, a deck put on back in 2018. And I was concerned if you were, making the deck smaller and you were increasing the volume. You've already had some expansion there, but I think that works.
Don't believe that works for that. That's it for existing structures is where the expansion occurs. And so the deck isn't an expansion,
So it's not considered.
no.
Expansion of living space.
Right.
Of
Okay.
volume.
Yeah.
In fact, it's
All right. Yeah, that's
within
what
the
I thought.
exterior walls.
Okay, I just wanted to
Yep.
check that out.
And on that point about the deck, just to give you an idea, kind of peel back the curtain on how we arrived at a deck being there versus building. One was obviously the deck would be on sonotubes versus a poured foundation. right? So, any water that would come in would pass through, wildlife can come underneath. It's not, we had originally thought about, well, what if we can expand the footprint of the house? We can go as far as, you know, we can maybe make that argument not to go any further than where the deck is on the plan with the house. And the more we thought about it, we felt like it was in everyone's best interest for a myriad of reasons to have an outdoor living space there that still gave the Warren some functionality, but kind of limited that environmental impact as it relates to, you know, pouring an impassable foundation versus, you know, a deck on sonotubes there.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, you're right in an environmental habitat of significance according to the maps and the zones. And you say you're going to be using Pella Lifestyle windows with some sort of pane on them. I looked up Pella Lifestyle windows and they come with different glasses, but I didn't see anything that described what you were describing.
So it could be that the lifestyle series, that could be a misspeak on my part. We, as a matter of practice, we use the lifestyle series with Pella for all of our builds. It may not be the actual lifestyle series, but when I spoke with my sales rep, who's also owned the franchise for close to 30 years, about what we are trying to accomplish there, he assured me there was a glazing that they could put on it that would minimize any sort of environmental impact that you get from reflection, glare. So that was what I was referencing.
Well, what I'm getting at here is you're right near a water body and a wildlife habitat.
Sure.
And you have to be concerned with bird strikes.
Sure.
And normally we ask that screens be on the outside of the window at least,
Oh, well, there will be screens as well, yes.
on all of the windows?
All the windows, yes, ma'am.
There are no picture windows, there are no glass sliding doors.
There is a sliding door on that side of the house that would have screens.
Okay,
Because when you open them, you obviously want to have screen for insects.
sure,
Yep,
okay,
yes,
all right, that's what we're
sure,
looking for.
of course, yep.
Because streams and, you know, rivers are really corridors for
Sure.
migrating birds, so,
Sure.
okay.
Yep.
That's all I had, Ed.
Yeah, I have a question. Phil, I know you made the point, you've made some adjustments to be able to fit inside the setbacks.
Yes, sir.
That's the front and the side and the rear setbacks all are going to be met, given the land swap. But probably the most important setback here is the 75-foot setback.
Sure.
And there's nothing going to do that's going to get everything out of there. But I'm concerned that it just appears that you've encroached more, that you're putting more surface area inside that 75-foot setback than is there currently. That seems to me to be more non-conforming. Just looking at the picture, right? We've taken a portion of the house that was outside of the 75-foot setback. and
Sure.
you've put it inside the 75-foot setback, and you've added a deck on that's even closer to the, adds more square footage closer to the resource than was there before. And that, I struggle with seeing how that can be approved.
Okay. So the first comment I would have with that was when we talked with Chris as it related to the DEP and the environmental impact. Chris's main concern was us not being any closer to the protected area than we were. And the DEP language is actually relatively clear in that what they are looking for from an impact standpoint is doing everything within your power to not get any closer, which we've done here also by way of the land swap as well.
No, I understand that. Let me make my point. The criteria that we're being asked to rule on is lot coverage. Your nonconformance here is lot coverage.
Right,
And I contend that the lot coverage inside the 75-foot setback is of more concern than the lot coverage overall in the 250-foot
Right.
setback, which is the shoreline zone.
right.
So overall, you're not increasing the lot coverage. If I understood it right, you'll have to show me the figures, but maybe
Sure.
you're 30 or 40% now, but
Well,
You're not increasing that.
Increasing volume.
But if I look at the prohibited area, you
Sure.
can't put anything inside. If you were to build this today, you couldn't put anything inside that 75-foot line.
well, it would be, that lot would be unbuildable then.
Perhaps. My point is that that's what we're judging here, is that nonconformity, that building, you're putting surfaces
Right.
in, closer than
Right.
75 feet to the resource. You've got so many square feet within that prohibited area today.
Certainly.
You're increasing that significantly. It appears. I don't have the data, I just have the picture.
Right, so I would say, I'd be interested, to your point, and I'm happy to get the answer as to how much of an increase we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, the entirety, the building has moved back as well,
Back from Cleves Ave.
from Cleves Ave, correct. But if you look at the front corner of that building, there's a significant amount of square footage that was in the environmental area that we're, you could essentially say we're trading.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the one drawing that I have that has a lightly shaded area that shows the existing house.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to pencil in where I think that flagstone area is. So I think those are the areas right now that are in that prohibited area, the gray and the flagstone.
So does your, and I apologize, does your copy have the green line on it,
Yes.
right down the middle?
Yes,
So that's the
75
setback.
yes, from Beaver Pond Brook.
Sure,
Idle.
right.
Yeah, right.
So, I guess the,
So I'm looking at the existing house, and there's so many square feet within, to the left of that line.
sure,
And if I look at the proposed house, it looks like there is considerably more coverage
Understood.
within the 75-foot setback.
understood. And my response to that would be, I'd be happy to have Lower Village pull the lot coverage, because I guess the point that I'm making is, if you look at the gray area that is outside of the new proposed area now,
No, I understand that I can't, say this won't work without those facts and data, but I know that we do need to see that breakdown. We need to see
Under-
impervious surface.
Understood.
And I'd like to see that separated
right,
by deck and by house.
understood,
Okay?
yep,
And other hardscape. And then I'd like to see it, the other dimension in the matrix is inside and outside of the
of the
75-foot
setback. Okay.
Would you also like to see where they've moved it back that was non-conforming inside that was non-conforming? Because right now it's too close to the sideline and too close to the front.
Right, and
So
I think that's,
they've made
I think,
improvements there.
by all means, Mike, but to me, the grave concern here is to the resource, is to the water, and not to the neighbor or to the street.
Right.
So I think that's great, and we should judge, and it's clear that the side, that all of the side and front and setbacks have been improved.
Right.
But I don't think that improvement is gonna sway me to say, and therefore you can get closer to the water.
It's not closer to the water, it's more volume closer to the water,
No, it's more surface.
or surface
It's more
area.
impervious surface.
surface.
It's more building and structure closer to the
More,
water.
more coverage closer
Yeah.
to the water.
Yeah, it's more stuff that you're prohibited from doing today.
Especially in the resource protection zone, that's 75 feet.
So I'd like to see that. I think it's important, I think it's critical that you provide that.
Understood.
Over 2 feet closer to the non-conforming setback. Get it out of the 75 zone.
And that was my,
I would, just one last to piggyback on that, Mr. Francis, I think the numbers are going to be closer than it may appear to the eye on the site plan.
Because of this.
I understand.
But we don't have those
I
numbers.
understand.
Oh, no, I understand that, yeah, of course. Lower Village is working on that. I checked in with Deb this morning and asked her if she had
Oh,
those.
Well, they're-
Because we are going
They're
to
good
be,
folks.
we are going to be removing some impervious surface that is currently there, that will not be there in the
Now you got
future.
it. Now you got it.
So,
That's exactly what we want
We're
to
talking
do.
about the flagstone, we're talking about a portion of the driveway, the gravel driveway. We're talking about the current walkway that comes up to the house.
Debits and credits.
Right, and,
Absolutely.
and that's my point about, if you look at the front of the existing house,
I'm not saying.
and we're trading off, so I think we're gonna be
I'm not
closer.
saying this is ridiculous. I'm saying I don't have enough
Oh, no,
information to
of
prove
course,
this.
understood.
Be-
Yeah.
And that's, to me, I mean, you haven't heard from everybody yet, but that to me was what I came away with, scratching my head, saying, this is a problem. And what a lovely house too. I mean, yeah, it's a nice setting. I think you've been creative and innovative, and it's improved in so many ways. So let's figure out a way to do it.
So I agree with what Ed is saying, and what I noticed was that you definitely, in terms of the back lot line, I guess that would be the south lot line, you're actually conforming to the 15-foot setback. So, it'd be very interesting to see how the area that's covered, the lot coverage north of the house, toward the beaver pond, how that compares to the deck, right? Because that's the issue here. And, it seems to me that, some relocation of the house could be possible. This is just a thought, to make it less non-conforming if you have to move it to the south, okay? I'm just saying as a possible solution. Because, if you made it less non-conforming to the south, then that would improve the condition to the north. So it would reduce the amount of the property of the house and the deck that's closest to the brook. That's all I'm saying.
So
If you could just quantify this, I don't really, want to discuss it right now.
To Larry,
we're just looking for a
let me piggyback.
clarification.
He's triggering me here.
Okay.
This is exactly right. And you made a point of saying, hey, look we've solved the side and front and rear setback problems. But maybe, you have some wiggle room there, right? Remember, the idea is you can't be any more non-conforming.
So that was the question I was about to
Bring
ask.
everything into conformity.
Understood.
So if you've hurt yourself
Yeah.
in putting things into that 75-foot area by being really good on the side setback, maybe you want to step back, still do the land swap, and
So can I ask for a point of clarification on that?
Okay.
So if I were to come back in 2 weeks and we've replotted the house and we said to both of your points, we're just gonna keep the front of the house where it is currently. And you can see on the site plan what that would do to the coverage issue, right?
Yeah.
You would see that there's not as much white would be on there,
Yeah.
as it relates to the house going backwards. We would be okay to do that?
yeah,
It's just,
Still less
it's just the
non-conforming.
numbers, we gotta see the numbers,
I don't
whether.
see how that helps you on getting stuff out of the 75, but if it does, then by all means,
Move
Yeah.
it
Poke at
forward
that.
and back, you
Yeah.
have to move it this.
no less no
Understood.
more non-conforming.
I just want to make sure that we're not doing work that is
Absolutely.
taking us nowhere, right?
Yeah.
I know, and while
I'm
I
not
have
looking for
while I
data
have the
because I'm
captive
curious.
audience, I figured it was worth to ask the
No,
question.
Oh, yeah.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right to ask the question.
We-
Okay,
If it's less non-conforming, well, that's what we prefer.
okay,
That's what we require.
Require, yeah.
Less or equal.
Yeah, less or equal.
right.
If you rebuilt on exactly the same footprint, it would be a rebuild.
Okay,
But if you have a chance to do that, if the delta between well, it's already been said.
understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If we just see that number for the 70, what's in the 75
Understood.
setback now versus what it's going to be, then we can compare those two.
And that, and what's in the 250, what's in the whole thing.
Certainly,
Before and
yeah.
after, and that
Yeah.
it looks clear that you're gonna make, but
It's very creative. And
And-
our directive, is, well, we have to examine those things. But I think most of us are less concerned about the setback from Cleves Avenue
Okay.
than we are about the 75-foot.
And that's a failure on our part. I thought we were kind of restricted to meet those setbacks no matter what.
don't
No.
make it more, don't make the
Understood.
setbacks worse on the
Understood.
side and front.
Understood.
But you don't have to get them 100% if keeping them
Sure.
that way.
Yeah,
That's
lets you build
very
this
clear.
house.
Understood.
right.
Right.
It's much more important that you get back from the 75-foot setback
Yeah.
Okay.
than the setbacks to the neighbor's house. or
Well,
the-
from a water point of view, probably too.
Yeah.
Understood.
Ocean's coming up.
Okay, then I think we'll
take two.
Yeah, we'll make some adjustments to that.
And it sounds like you've already tasked the lower village to get the data for you.
Sure, correct, yeah.
What we need to see basically, square footage and volume, is the existing house and the new house,
Mhm.
a comparison, and where it is in the 75-foot
House
setback.
and deck. All the
Yeah.
Deck,
structures.
house and deck.
And-
Lot-
Is
lot
it-
coverage,
and
yeah.
Is it, yeah, it's the impervious areas. So if they're moving flagstone, they're moving driveway, they're moving walkway, all that counts.
Nina's right, the volume, of course, is only on the building itself.
Yeah.
But
But the lot
And
coverage,
would you like a breakdown, another point of clarification, would you like a breakdown of the volume that's in that 75-foot setback as well? So if there's a portion of the current property that isn't within it, we break down the volume there, then we break down the current volume within the 75,
yeah,
and then same goes for the new property as well?
It would be very
it'd be
Okay.
useful. In fact, I noticed on your application, the volume expansion is, it's not shown there. If you could just fill those numbers in, and then maybe clarify what's inside the 75 and.
Sure, so it was in the supplemental memo that I
Oh.
sent over to the group last
Right.
week.
Okay, gotcha.
In response to Galen's
Okay.
memo, so
Gotcha.
there was a lot more information in that. Thanks to
your
Galen for
volume,
that.
your 30% volume increase is going to be
Yeah.
allowed and considered
Yeah,
Mhm.
everywhere in the 250, whether it's inside or outside the 75. That's not gonna matter on us judging the volume increase.
No.
What is
Okay.
gonna matter is lot coverage inside and outside that 75.
yeah.
Okay,
So you will also count the volume and the floor area that's in the lot line setbacks as well as the 75 foot. I just want to put that out there for you all.
Because it is non-conforming.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right now, there's nothing out there, but if he changes
Yeah.
that volume increase, wait, it's all in the shorelands. It's all in the 250, so he's already in considering
Yeah, it
all
doesn't
of
matter
it.
where you put it.
Right, so the 75 foot, you would go back from the setback from I'm reading your land use ordinance here.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's any portion of a structure is less than the required setback from the lot line
Yes.
or from the normal high water line of the body or tributary stream or upland edge of a wetland, which is the
Right.
75 foot.
Except here it's in the shoreland zone. Yeah,
Yeah, it's 75.
he's correct.
Yeah.
You're right.
So anything that's in the lot lines in that setback and then anything in the 75 has to be counted towards your floor area and your
And volume.
volume,
Well, he's not increasing the floor area, but he is increasing the volume, so.
maybe.
But,
Yeah.
well, yeah, right, maybe. Let's have the data.
Yeah.
Does it make a difference
Sure.
where the 75
Sure.
feet is measured from?
Yep.
So, had a couple more comments. So,
Center of the screen?
maybe you've already updated your drawings, but on your elevations, could you show the frost depth and as well as the base flood elevation? And of course, the top of the first floor needs to be 2 feet above the base flood elevation.
sure,
If you
so,
could just show all those dimensions, it'd be great.
yes.
And of course, you probably want the bottom of your footing to be a foot below the frost line, right?
Yes, so what would serve as the footing are those helical piles. So right now, the estimate is they're going anywhere from 25 to 30 feet below grade.
It'd still be useful to show the frost line.
Understood, and the frost line is actually on, it should be on the plan that I had passed out, I know, very small tonight, but the
here?
digital copy that I shared as well.
This thing.
On here? Well, okay, it doesn't jump out, but anyway, I think that'd be, because on this drawing, you've got some of those precast concrete footings shown.
Yeah, I apologize, that's
Oh, that's-
that's
It's all-
just the drafter, including some standard
okay, so
practice.
it's all gonna be helical.
Correct.
Okay, that's
Yep,
great,
even,
okay.
even the deck, all of that will be set on the
Oh.
helical piles.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah.
because there is something in there that was noting sonnet tubes, and you had mentioned those, but the foundation plan has the helical.
Correct, so for the deck, sonotubes will sit on those helical piles.
Okay,
So they will serve as the footing for the
Yeah.
sonotube, because obviously we have to get it up 4 feet above
Okay.
grade. So I apologize, it's kind of a combination of both for the deck.
combo, got it.
Yep,
so still the base flood elevation and then the elevation of the first floor is of interest, so if you could just make sure it's in the drawing somewhere. So I thought the solution is very good, you know, this helical pile definitely can work. And, so what happens, is there ledge out there? I mean, what happens if you go down 2 feet and you hit ledge, then what?
So it's a combination of either having to hammer or pin, based on what the code office would prefer.
Okay, so you have a solution in case you hit ledge,
Correct.
okay. So,
And the solution isn't just crossing our fingers, but I will be crossing my fingers nonetheless.
okay, so I think you said for the new helical piles, they're rated for 24,000 pounds each.
They are.
That should be plenty, more than enough. And then the pile cap, that's a great idea. But so on that drawing, if you could show the frost line, you may want to have the frost line, or the bottom of the pile cap a foot below the frost line,
Sure,
just to, just to make sure.
sure.
And of course, your ring beam, that's a great solution. Yeah, I mean, it's really a good solution here. I noticed your concrete slab, 4 inches thick. Are you going to put some rebar in there?
So that was a suggestion from Atar to do the slab. My suggestion to both the homeowner, and to Payne, who's handling the foundation, is that we not pour a slab down there. They just did another property in Wells that I went to see, very similar issue, same solution, and they did not pour a slab down there, dust cover down there. Really, there's no need for it. They just went with sand and gravel inside the foundation walls, in the crawl space, so to speak. So we would, my suggestion to both the tar and to Payne in response to that was to just go with a gravel solution instead.
And the reason would be, at some point, that's going to flood, so you're not going to use that area for storage.
Correct.
It's going to flood out, yeah.
Right, I mean, if the purpose of building up is to stay out of the water, then the homeowners are very acutely aware that they won't be using it for bikes and boogie boards and whatnot.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. So it looks great, looks really good. That's all. Thank you.
Sure.
I agree. I think it's a really creative solution.
Yeah.
But I have a question. I've never thought about this before, but looking at the contours on Beaver Brook, and this is a Galen question or anybody question, how is that 75-foot setback determined? Is it from the shoreline, from the center of the brook? How does it take into consideration irregularities? Is it a general zone?
That is a good question. So that comes from the contour of 7-foot foot elevation. That's what they go off of as the edge of the line from there, 75 feet. So you'll see on your plan, it actually has it notated for you at the blue. It has elevation 7.0 NGVD.
The blue line.
There
Thank
you go.
you.
Yep, good question.
All right,
Yep,
I got it now. The blue line.
yep,
I have another question for Galen.
yep.
When you swap, do you swap the land? Do you take into the impact you may have on setback on the house, on the other one being swapped?
That's a good question. Certainly something that the planning board can take into consideration. I also wanted to clarify for the board that the deck that was constructed in 2018 met the setbacks at the time, but the owners did convey the piece and made it not conforming. So that's why there's no expansion, because normally any kind of deck space is considered. But if you look at the plans, they do have the 75-foot setback, and you can see where the original conveyance was, the difference between the two lands, and they probably met the side setback as well, 15 feet. Yeah. So it wasn't considered an expansion, but on your plan right now, it looks like it is an expansion because it's in the side lot line now, because they conveyed land to their next door neighbor to help them with a similar, was it a generator issue or something? I forget the.
It was an HVAC compressor that was gonna
an
be,
issue.
actually,
But if I've moved the land this way to help them, now I'm moving it back, am I impacting their setback?
But I think wasn't the compressor gone or something? I forget the.
so, the compressor is at 9 cleaves. The swap was done for the compressor, actually, not for the deck, Galen, I apologize to correct you, but, The compressor is on the right-hand side of the house as you look at it now, and they needed that, what has been, that little cutout in 2018 in order to put the compressor there because it was further encroaching on the property line. And I think to your point, Mr. West, it may become, based on our impervious coverage question, it may become, the swap is likely to become irrelevant now.
Yeah, that's
Because
the other
if we
point.
can stay where the house currently is, there wouldn't be a need for the land swap anymore. We were doing it because the back right-hand corner of the house was within a 15-foot radial setback from that kind of funky corner where it says CIRS, where the red dot is there now. That's the current property line, and we were swapping to get rid of that so we could stay out of that 15-foot setback there. But if we are now gonna try to keep the front of the property where it is existing, that will no longer be an issue.
Yeah. I just thought it was kind of creative. You give me some land, so I'm not, setback, but I've gotten closer to you. Is there,
It's good that neighbors help each other out.
So could we,
yeah.
could we just make the general request that, hey, if you do the land swap, can you answer the question for us that says, how does this impact any setback on the
Certainly.
neighbor's property?
Certainly,
That's
Yes.
something we'll want to see.
yes.
And then two, if all you're doing is to do, I don't understand the drawing well enough in my head yet, but don't do my opinion is that I wouldn't ask you to do the land swap if all you are doing is making the current situation less non-conforming. You just have to not make it more
Understood.
non-conforming.
Yeah, I think with that part of the discussion
If you have to
tonight.
do the land swap because of how you're laying in the new house, then by
Sure,
all means.
sure. The land swap was a product of the property line
the
setbacks. And based on our discussion earlier, I think it probably makes that a moot point.
Keep it in play.
Sure.
That's all.
Okay,
Yep, no, good.
Good question, Mike.
Good questions.
That's it.
Are that all of the questions?
Let's continue the,
I think it's important enough that we get that data, that we need to continue the initial review. Anybody else feel that?
Agree.
Yeah. So we cannot rule this application as complete and go to a public hearing.
understood.
What we need is more information from you.
Okay,
All right.
And
I do
specifically, the need of information is,
The square footage.
lot coverage.
basically, lot coverage, volume.
inside and
What's
outside
inside the
the 75.
75-foot
Sure.
setback and what isn't.
sure.
And if you're moving the house or changing things around, we'll need a new drawing.
Sure.
And that's
And-
7 days in advance?
What?
7 days?
Yes.
7 days ahead
Yep.
of
Yep.
next
Of the
meeting.
meeting.
So by next Wednesday,
Yeah.
you'd like to have that information?
Or continue it, ask for a meeting delay.
Right.
7 days before the next meeting, and the next, we're
next-
hitting the end of the month, it's the first Wednesday of
September.
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 So
Yeah,
7 days
the
before
4th,
whatever.
I think is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it'll
7
be
days
7
before
days
that.
before that.
Okay,
But if you need more time, just let us know and we'll
Yeah.
do a continuance. So it's
Sure.
whatever, your consultants can get the stuff together.
Sure.
Right, it's the 4th.
we're gonna put the pedal down for the sake of the snow.
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
But we appreciate your attention and questions, and hopefully we'll get that to you and be able to get to a public hearing after that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
And we need a case manager for this one? Anybody willing to take it on?
I will not be here that first Wednesday.
No, okay.
You want to flip for it?
I took one last time. Did you
Okay,
take
I'll
one
do it.
last time?
You willing to do it? Thank you.
I took one for the team
All
last
right.
time. I got the other 9, whatever,
Okay.
9 something. I forget. There was another 9 street.
Yeah, there's another 9 as well, yeah.
Yeah, I got the first 9, you got the second 9.
9, yeah.
Then we'll play the
Front
full
9 or the
18.
back 9.
All right,
Thank you.
okay, yeah, thanks.
Okay. So with that under our belt, we have some old business to discuss, and that's the planning board rules and procedure, and maybe we can get through them.
And a
Can
finding.
we do that without Nadia?
Oh, we
We
can
need
do
her.
it. We can do it.
All right, all right.
I have absolute faith.
Thank you.
Thank you, good night.
Okay, so I'm going to pull up, this-
Favor
the
say aye.
screen will be behind you then.
Great fun. Oh, do we have a findings?
Oh, yeah, findings.
Yeah, I have the findings.
Do you want to do that first?
Yeah.
That's
Sure.
business, but we can do the findings.
Do we have those printed?
Move it out of, yeah,
I'm a fast reader.
okay, go to it.
You hand it down to
They
them.
come.
They need to
Thank you.
read them. They need to hand it down to George. That's the findings to
All right, George,
record.
there you go.
Kennebunkport Planning Board findings of fact and decision application of Matthew and Jennifer Jones, garage rebuild and relocation, 773 Kings Highway. Following site plan reviews pursuant to the Kennebunkport Land Use Ordinance held on 3 and 17 July 2024, and a public hearing held on 7 August, the Kennebunkport Planning Board makes the following findings of fact and conclusions and renders the following decision subject to conditions enumerated below. Findings of fact are as follows. 1, the applicant and owner of record are Matthew and Jennifer Jones, 773 Kings Highway, Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046. 2, in a letter dated March 14, 2024, Christy Kenny, R.A., with a mailing address to P.O. Box 404, Wells, Maine, 04090, was authorized to act as agent in this matter. 3, the property has a street address of 773 Kings Highway, Kennebunkport, Maine, 04046. 4, the property is identified as map 34, block 1, lot 19 on the municipal tax assessor's maps. 5, the applicant demonstrated a legal interest in the property by providing a warranty deed for the property recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds, book 17745, page 361 on July 2nd, 2018. 6, the property is located in the Goose Rocks and Shoreland zones. 7, property comprises approximately 12,867 square feet. 8, in an application dated 18th March 2024, the applicant is proposing removal of an existing 579 square foot garage and building a new 575 square foot garage on the parcel, more in conformity with shoreland zoning and setback requirements. 9, the site currently is connected to public water and sewer and is proposing 3,131 square feet of structure footprint and 39.76% of total lot coverage once the development is completed. 10, the proposed structure is currently within the 250-foot shoreland zone, and the existing structure is within the coastal wetland, which requires a PB site plan review. 11, applicant requested a waiver from submitting a topography map in accordance something, 10.6.c.8, and the waiver was approved. 12, the relocation of the garage requires removal of 2 trees and surrounding vegetation. Vegetation in accordance with section 240-8.3.b.4. These trees will be replaced with native species and native shrubs replanted to compensate for any removed shrubs. 13, pursuant to the requirements of Article 10.10.a of the Land Use Ordinance Guidelines for Decisions, the Planning Board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes a negative ruling on one or more of the following identified findings, which would otherwise compel denial. Am I allowed to say yes to all of these, or do I have to read them?
Yes,
Yes?
indicate what they are.
Just read the letter and fill it.
Okay, A, yes, B, yes, C, not applicable, D, yes, E, yes, F, yes, G, yes, H, yes, I, yes, J, yes, K, finding not applicable, L, yes, M, not applicable, N, yes, O, N, not applicable, P, not applicable. When a proposed development will be located within the shoreland zone or resource protection zone, in addition to the requirements of the Kennebunkport Land Use Ordinance, Article 10, the townwide regulations in Article 6, the performance standards for specific activities and land use in Article 7, approval of the development will also require that the board makes positive findings based on the information presented that the proposed use A, yes, B, yes, C, yes, D, yes, E, yes, F, yes, G, yes, H, yes. Any negative findings by the board means that the application has been denied. The application is otherwise complete. Conclusions. Article 10.10.a of the Land Use Ordinance mandates that the Planning Board shall approve a site plan application unless it makes one or more findings, identified findings, that would otherwise compel denial, and as noted above, the board makes no such findings. Decision. The site plan application identified is hereby approved. Conditions of approval, if any, pursuant to Article 10.11 and 10.12.e. 1. The applicant pursuant to 10.12.e shall notify the Planning Board prior to the transfer of rights to any construction of an approved project. 2, the applicant must record a copy of this decision and provide proof of such recordation in the York County Registry of Deeds before any permits may be issued or before any construction activity may commence. The applicant shall also provide the town of Kennebunkport a copy of the MDEP permit by rule prior to commencement of any work. 3, receipt of permits from ACOA and the MDEP is a condition of approval. 4, the application shall replace trees and vegetation in accordance with section 240-8-3.b.4. 5, the applicant shall comply with all terms and conditions of the town of Kennebunkport ordinances as well as the main DEP approvals dated 21 August 2024. Thrilling.
Make a motion to approve the findings of fact.
I'll second that.
Ed,
Yes.
I approve.
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 Okay.
Mr. West, may I borrow your pen? Or ink?
Probably, why don't we do one that doesn't write in red?
Okay.
Okay. Now we can go to the rules and procedures.
Okay. Where's share my screen? Okay.
Hi, thank you.
So I think you should have the screen up now. During the last meeting, we did discuss, I think we left off at the voting eligibility, if I remember correctly. We discussed about conflicts of interest, how we addressing that, especially indirect conflicts of interest. So you'll see there in subsection B, I did add the term organization to that list of parties of possible interest, because some of you might serve on some boards or organizations that might have an application in the future in front of the board. So that addresses something that was missing that was in MMA's suggested changes. And then the other thing that you'll see here is that subsection 3, which is a member direct official action. That is, if it's even the appearance of impropriety, that they should really recuse themselves as a conflict of interest. And we define what that actually stipulates here.
So this is 405-6 is what we're talking about?
You're at 405-6, subsection 3.
Okay, because I had a question there. We're saying that the person can't vote, right? But can they partake in the discussion and be on the board panel?
No, they
No, it
should, you
doesn't.
should be, that the practice is you leave
It
the,
doesn't say that, though.
if you want me to tell you, yeah.
No, but
You put it in there,
it
yeah.
says, all it says is you can't vote. It doesn't say you need to recluse yourself off the board.
If it's abutting my property, can I hire a lawyer to represent me? Or can I represent myself over at the podium in a public
Oh.
hearing?
Oh, yeah, if you're not, you have a case before.
Why don't you make a suggestion as to how we
The,
improve it?
it's
It
more
sounds
than,
like
it's
you
more
wanna
than
add-
just,
You want to
no
you
member
want
is
the members
illa-
to recuse themselves
Yeah.
from participation
recluse
on that
from the board
application.
for that discussion and
application.
everything, that application.
Yeah, I think something to that effect.
So they would have to have a representative. They can still,
No, if you have a
You
conflict of
recuse
interest.
yourself, you can't participate, you can't influence it, that's the point.
It's, if
It's like you had to stay home that night.
right, but in a public hearing, can I, as an abutter,
Oh, you can.
Oh, sure.
You can
Oh, okay,
speak,
that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
that's fine.
You just go
So-
from this side of the table to
You
that.
can't be a board member.
Okay, that's fine. I agree
So-
completely, just wanted to understand.
MMA's guidance for you all for a current board member representing clients before the board. Title 30-A MRSA, Section 2605 requires that a member of the board refrain from otherwise attempting to influence a decision in which that official has an interest. While it would not be reasonable to interpret this law as prohibiting a board member from abstaining and stepping down as a board member to present his or her own application to the board, it probably doesn't prohibit a board member, including alternate members, from representing another applicant who is seeking the board's approval or some other party to the proceeding.
So-
Probably, I love the
Yeah.
word probably.
Well, that's what MMA gives you as for guidance from your manual,
Probably,
so,
all right.
yeah.
Well, it
Small
gives-
town life.
It gives you some flexibility there.
What do we want to do?
I have no problem with a member of the board standing on that side at the podium, giving their input just like any other member of the
To
public.
the board.
To the
Who is
board.
hearing that application.
hearing that.
They are not hearing that application.
Right,
That's
they
all.
leave
We
this
wanna
side
make
of the
that clear.
table.
Yeah,
full-
But not
full
outside
stop.
of that meeting. They can't say, hey, Ed, I want to talk to you about the,
You're a member of the public.
you're still a member of the board outside of that
Right.
meeting, and you can't have
I
we
understand.
already
That's
talked to
fine.
that.
I'm
Whether
clear
you
on it.
vote or not, if you're participating as a member of the board, you cannot discuss that case.
Got it.
Right. And three or more you can't discuss anyway, because you gotta be a regular meeting.
So do you want to propose, you don't have to do it in real time, but do you want to propose a language change to,
Just something to get
No.
to that point, that you have to recluse
think that's
yourself from the board.
I think it's a clear
So
interpretation.
subsection C deals with withdrawal from voting, and then subsection D is excused from voting.
Maybe it should not be voting, I think is what I'm hearing from,
Yeah, it's more than voting was my point,
from participation.
Participating in the meeting.
yeah.
Asking questions.
Yeah, if you just sit here and you don't vote, but you ask all the questions and all that,
You're still influenced.
that was my concern.
If you're
Yeah.
recused, you shouldn't be sitting here.
Right,
You should be,
You should
for
actually,
that case, go sit over there and then come back.
yeah, and I thought I remembered that somewhere, I don't know if it was the
Probably in the
training.
training.
I think it was the training.
The training, yeah, I remember.
The training kicks in, muscle memory.
Every once in a while, something floats back into my memory. And the only other question I had on this section was on A3.
Okay?
It says, confirmation by the applicant is required for the absentee member, so that would be, how do we track the fact that the applicant's okay with the absent board member watching this on video replay?
The chair would ask the applicant, do they have any objections to
Right.
so-and-so who
And is it
missed?
tracked in the minutes?
Yes,
Okay, that would be where it's tracked.
yep,
I think we decided that last time.
Okay.
yep.
It's just, we gotta have some mechanism for doing it, and I wasn't sure. Okay.
I would just say on B3, it should say members, not just, not member.
A member who
It's-
was not present.
We're not seeing B3 yet.
No, wasn't this the member direct official action?
So absent members,
A3 or B3?
I have it as B3.
oh, B3?
Look at B3. There we go.
It should say it should say members. Other than that, it's a clunky sentence. A member direct doesn't make, that's not correct English. It has to be an S at the end of member.
apostrophe S, it's a possessive.
Oh, I see. Can I ask a question on this influence business? One practical thing is at some point in time, we're gonna have the land trust in here or housing people in here again.
Oh, yeah.
And many of us contribute to those organizations, maybe not serve on their board or anything, but we might send them a check or whatever. Does anything we're putting in here,
I would say if
Prohibit
you
us
were a board member, yes. If you're a contributor, no. That would kinda
we
mean,
don't have a financial interest, but somebody could,
I don't want to get that
Yeah,
specific
I
in
don't
the
either.
rules
Yeah.
and the
But I wanted to have the
procedures, because
conversation.
Yeah.
I think you need to have some flexibility, like I said before.
I agree.
Is that the appearance of impropriety?
Agree. I
It's
wanted to
something
have
that
the
can be
conversation.
It's something that can be discussed when you come to it,
Yeah,
basically.
good. I don't think we
If
put a
you-
landmine in there, but I
If you're
didn't want
an
to
active
miss it.
member of an organization, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
If you're just giving a check to the organization, that's a whole different story.
I think as long as you disclose it, I think you're being open and honest and forthright that
Right.
you've explained,
Right.
you've given them a $50 donation.
Okay. The wiggle room comes when you've participated in some of their meetings and helped influence something.
Right.
Then it's a matter of what did you influence? Does it affect this application? And that has to be decided at a board meeting, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think what we want is a process where somebody says, look, here's what I've done, and I think it might influence me, and therefore I'm gonna recuse myself,
Yeah.
or B, I think I can still judge this impartially.
Well, the question is, I think I can, and
And then,
it's,
is everybody okay with
is,
that?
is the public, is there any chance of,
Is the applicant okay with it? Is the board okay with it?
yeah.
And the membership thing, so we had the golf course had that addition. What if three people on the board were members of the Cape Arundel Golf Course? Would they have to recuse themselves?
I think so.
Or
So
they
then we
would-
would down to two people, we would not have a quorum.
Or they would have to say, I am a member of the golf club, but I think I can still judge this impartially, and we would have to rule on it.
Yeah,
It
but
depends on
I
whether
have
they're
less
an
of,
active member on making
We
decisions
would
or
have
not.
that discussion.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
right.
but I think it's less that I think I can do, and it's what the perception that other people have of my actions.
Well, I hear you, but I think it starts
That's-
with you saying
Yeah.
whether or not you think you can be
Yeah,
impartial.
but I
And
think
if you don't
that's,
think so, it doesn't matter what anyone
yeah,
else.
but I think the test that, what I think is irrelevant is what others
I would
think.
disagree. I would ask you, if I was a member judging, I would say, first of all, I mean, I work with you all the time, Mike.
Yeah.
I see you judge fair and
Yeah.
impartially. Tell me
Yeah.
what you think here. I wanna look at
Yeah.
you, and
Yeah, and if
So-
I couldn't, I
That's
should be,
important to me.
yeah, I should recuse myself.
that's right.
Remember,
I
we
don't
have,
think it's irrelevant.
we have the
It's not sufficient.
flexibility in this document with that subsection D, that the fellow members decide if this person has a conflict.
Right.
So when they hear your disclosure of what your, what your potential conflict is, your fellow board members, we will all, decide what that actually, if it is indeed a conflict, that should be excused from the discussion. So I think you have some
Disclosure.
safeguards here
Yeah.
to take care of this.
I just,
I attended that church once, now they want to.
Yeah, see, that's,
I was baptized. Yeah.
That's right.
Next.
where am I? Quorum?
Excused from, again, it's not excused from voting or participation.
D.
so you want to excuse from voting or participation?
And/or.
And-
That'll show 'em.
Well, it's voting and.
Excuse a member on a specific matter. Just delete from voting in the second line.
I don't think the or adds any value. It's voting
Yeah, and, yeah,
Oh, you think
Fewer than
these-
three, not less than
you
three.
They're coupled.
It can't be,
It's coupled.
oh, all right, all
I
right.
think.
That's both, not either.
So I would delete the from voting in the second sentence.
or do you want to add participating?
No, I would just, I think if you delete it, it's cleaner. If everyone else will go along with that. You've already said what, in the title,
Yes.
it's not ambiguous.
Okay. So next one is 405-7 quorum. This was a question. This was from Mike. It says 3 of the original 5 or 3 including the original 5 and 2 alternates.
Well, as I'm gonna say again, members was defined up above.
Yep.
And it includes either the original and the alternates,
Correct.
and it doesn't matter. If you don't have that many of the regular members, and you have the alternates with them,
Right.
it's gotta be 3.
It's just gotta be 3. It doesn't matter if it's 5 or 8
That's right,
or 7.
that's right.
I think we got there last time.
Okay, your next section is the meeting section. So this was a suggestion that I made just to give you guys flexibility on picking the meeting time and date when you see fit. I don't think we've been sticking to the rules of 7 o'clock meetings.
Well, we changed that at COVID
Yeah,
It used to be 7.
Right?
Can I make a suggestion that you should start with the regular meetings? The regular meeting schedule shall be set annually at the beginning of the calendar year. That should be the first sentence.
Yeah.
Then you're going into regular meeting
Start with
shall.
general, go to specific.
so move the sentence up.
Move that sentence up.
Yeah, that's the most important.
We're burying the lead.
Oh, this is fun. There you go.
Yeah, see your,
While you're in tracking, yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Google-
no, don't do
Google
it.
Doc skills, wasn't it one of the things you interviewed on?
Yeah,
Proficiency in?
uh-huh, yeah,
Not that I was involved in that process, but I do recall.
yeah.
Can I just, do you do it at the beginning of the calendar year, or do you do it in July? Okay. I didn't know if maybe you did it in July when you did everything else.
We had a minute of a meeting when it was too
Okay.
close to a holiday.
Holiday
or
and you move,
something
yeah,
like
okay.
that,
Yep.
you know?
But
We didn't feel like
make
it.
that change at the beginning of the year necessarily. I remember, oh, it's July next month. Are we gonna have that meeting or not?
No, we don't have to make it at the beginning of the year.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay. It just says one regular meeting each year. It doesn't say you have to decide it at the beginning of the year. I don't know what comes up in December, but I was thinking that December, since we haven't omitted a meeting this year, December seems more likely that everybody's busy.
Yeah, everyone's in the holidays and stuff, yeah.
Depending on the
Maybe a
holidays
good
are,
time
too.
to do
Normally what I've seen is your first meeting of, you know, in January is when you would set that.
Right. Well, you don't have to.
Yeah.
But you could look at the calendar and decide then.
Yeah,
So we're leaving it open.
Yep.
Well, honestly, what's happened is we've looked at,
When do
there
they
are a lot of
usually
applications
meet? When do they
pending,
usually meet?
Yeah.
you know.
First and third.
Is there nothing
I think,
really
that- I
coming
think
up?
that's the, if circumstances permit.
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
No,
that's why we have that phrase in there, is because there's a lot of applications, we may decide that we're not gonna omit that meeting.
Yeah.
To your wiggle room point, Nina, I think that's why that's there.
Where is it?
third sentence of that subsection A.
4 words, the last 3 words of A,
Oh, okay. Okay. Leave it then.
that's what it said.
There you
Yeah,
That was a
leave it.
remarkable sentence, but that's fine. Special meetings.
So the chair can be a slave driver and say you're not getting them.
Yep. No Christmas off,
And there could be no quorum.
As determined by the chair.
right?
You can't force you to show up.
Right, you can do whatever you want, but whether I'm here or not.
Do we have a section on impeachment?
That's implied, but not stated.
Right.
All it takes is 3.
I've never heard of a special meeting, we've never had.
Oh, yeah, we have.
Yeah, we have.
We have to have 3 people show up at the select board meeting,
Yeah, the joint meetings, yep,
and those are special.
they are special.
They are not called in writing by the chair.
No, no.
Or by the majority of the members, whichever one.
Well, they could be called by the.
Executive sessions, we've never gone into executive session.
We-
That
I'm
would
just
be cool.
suggesting that we delete in writing
Yeah,
in B,
yeah.
unless you want to change our practice.
No, they're called in writing because they're advertised,
Special meetings are?
be advertised.
No?
That's not
When
what
we go to the board, that was
the chair
advertised.
has the right.
Well, they are, I think in the select board
Okay.
Minutes or
minutes,
or
that
I guess-
agenda or whatever.
we will be in attendance.
How, I guess this is a question, so with the in writing, how would you like to convey to staff that you would like to have a special meeting? To let us know that we need to schedule,
Well, basically, what's happened is the Board of Selectmen needs the planning board to show up.
Mhm.
And basically, the chair, you know, you tell the chair, but
Yeah.
you're usually telling the board at the same time. It's
Right.
usually at one of
At
our
a
regular meetings. So, you know, and it comes down in writing in the minutes.
right,
So it doesn't have to be publicized that I know of. But if we were to have a special meeting, like we have site visits
Yep.
and so
That's
forth,
in there.
if we were to call a special meeting just for us to discuss something, then I think you would have to put that out to the public.
yeah.
Is that covered under executive meetings, executive sessions? I saw.
No, that's covered under your, just general meetings.
Okay.
Any public meeting, we have to advertise it.
Yeah, because in G down below notice, it includes under item 2, item 1's regular meeting, item 2 is special and work session meetings. So there's actually things there that says that notice has to be given to members and shall be placed on the town hall and website. So I think that's referencing the same thing that's in B.
Yep. So I'll go back up there for you.
I had one thing on site visits too. There's a, hold on. But no formal, in site visits, no formal, you have but no forma. It should be formal. This is my English kicking in.
That's good. I mean, somebody has to be literate here.
Any Google majors?
Is there a period up there where there shouldn't be after
Oh,
a
now you got,
particular matter?
it's spreading, see, this is.
I think that's a comma. In particular matter.
That's a comma.
After matter is a
Motion,
comma.
Minutes,
You
or
don't
vote.
need commas there.
You
No.
need a comma.
You need a
don't
comma
need
after
it
minutes, you do,
chair,
it's
and
the
you
Oxford
don't have-
comma.
You don't have to have it after matter.
So I do have a question about C.
One on
About
C
what?
also.
C.
Site visits.
With the site visits, it mentions about no minutes.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, we didn't.
That was something, Larry, that you had in there. We have to take minutes when we do a site visit.
Yeah, true, we have done that in the past.
Yeah. But was that what you were referring to, or is this something?
Well, formal minutes.
Who would do that?
Well,
We
take
open a
them.
meeting.
I think what happens then is that the chair summarizes whatever notes are taken and sends them in an email. I think that's what's happening.
So when we did Wiles District, that was the last site visit I remember.
Yeah, I think.
There
I
was
took-
something written minutes after that?
I took some notes, and then Tom sent it out, sent them out as an email, in email form, I believe.
But does that have access to the public?
It should.
Yeah, it was just to the board, I think, and then maybe to the Board of Selectmen.
So I think there ought to be minutes,
Yeah.
and I think we can do that just by getting rid of the addition of minutes, no minutes. I think we want to say no minutes. No formal motions or votes will be in order, that's fine.
Just delete the minutes.
How did that minutes get?
Because, so Larry added that in,
Larry.
How can you tell?
because it's blue. It was blue underlined.
It says Galen.
Now does it, so if I click it,
Undo it.
so I delete it, let me Control Z.
Oh, okay, I see underneath that, there's another comment.
Yeah, so if I click this, it says Charles K. Yep,
Yeah.
that's, anything that's yeah.
Yeah,
So now he's showing his prowess with Google Docs to switch blame to other members of the board. Outstanding.
I'm pretty good, but I'm not this good.
I have a question on the last sentence.
Yep.
It says site visits will be advertised 14 days in advance. Everywhere else we see where we're gonna advertise. Like how, town hall, on the website.
I think this will cover it, but if we don't have another way.
Subsection G,
So that's what we have down on,
shall be placed
G1
in
and
town
2.
hall and website,
Oh, okay.
special and work session meetings.
yeah, it's down on 2.
Is the site
G2.
visit a special meeting, is that what we're?
Do you want me to add site visits to that?
Yeah,
It's a special meeting.
yeah, if it's a special meeting, that's good.
Did we already say, maybe we already said that.
I guess it's a separate subsection, so I can add site
Special
visits if
meetings
you
and
want.
site visits, yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Then if we have it down under notice, do we even need that sentence here?
What sentence where?
The last one, site visit will be advertised under C.
That's right.
Don't
Get-
we
rid
Do
already
we
have
do-
notice requirements?
That's what this,
That's
That's
G
this
down
right
below,
here.
that's what we're saying. So do we just need it one place?
Don't we already have under agendas and things, notice the description of notices?
Under your agendas?
Yeah, when you say public notice, don't we have something that says how we do public notices?
That's G1.
That's the G section. That's what we were just
one
looking
and
at.
two.
This section right here says subsection G, the notice.
We give public notice of all meetings, but there was something, I think, earlier that described where the notice was given, that
I think it's that subsection 2, right?
Subsection 2?
Yeah.
there's something that already says that.
It does?
I thought we did, I didn't have my stuff with me.
We're not gonna finish this tonight, so what do you?
What, we've got hours to go.
I repeat, we're not gonna finish this tonight, so we should make whatever changes we can make tonight, and then go back and look at the document again.
Yeah.
We should definitely not approve this
Oh,
without
God, no.
going back and rereading it.
Yes, but if we're
Membership.
going to go through it, we should try to go through it.
Okay.
Nothing we've covered so far. I haven't seen anything that
No, I
was,
didn't see anything up to this
Maybe it's
point.
done in G,
So-
but it was talked about last time, I don't know.
So,
where-
so on C there, on the screen,
yep,
you talk about side visits being advertised 14 days in advance. Then you go down farther to special meetings, and it says 7 days. Is this a conflict? Is this an
That's a
inconsistency?
conflict.
Yes.
So that's why we should only say it in one place.
Is it, yeah, is it?
I think we ought to lose it in C.
I agree.
Yeah,
And
lose
stay
it
with
in
the
C.
7
Strike,
days.
yeah, strike the last sentence of C.
Okay.
okay, Larry, I'm gonna reject yours, I'm sorry.
Okay, reject, yeah. Reject.
Okay.
Don't take it personally.
D.
It wasn't meant.
Please keep me on the Christmas card list.
Okay.
Okay, there's your workshop meetings. I don't think there was any changes there. Unscheduled,
This is basically, it says don't do that.
yeah, don't do it. There was a question here from Mike. I'm assuming this doesn't include town officials.
So it's only the 7 board members. So if I had a board member and Galen, I wouldn't be in violation.
That's 2 people.
Correct, I'm not a voting member.
Right,
I'm
so,
not a-
but it is just of the 7, it's not only voting, but also alternate.
Yep.
So it'd be the 7, just members of the board.
And then I have another comment here from Chairman Perlmutter that said, we should probably define what it means by planning board business, in quote.
Right, because I'm concerned that even if 2 members get together and start to discuss an application
Yeah.
outside of a meeting, that doesn't sound right to me. I don't think
I
we
think
should
it's
be
allowed. It's definitely allowed.
Currently allowed. If I was having an email exchange with Larry
That's
over a
allowed.
foundation,
Definitely
that's allowed.
If I give you feedback on.
On my
your
FO
findings of
fact, that's
Yeah,
allowed.
allowed.
That's true.
Yeah,
2
no,
members are
absolutely,
fine.
yeah.
More than that is not fine.
I don't have a problem with findings of fact, but I have a problem with discussing an ongoing application.
It's allowed.
Yeah, but that's what I'm doing with the finding of fact, isn't it? I'm discussing an
It's just one
application.
instance.
Yeah,
I think if you looked at the sunshine rules, I don't know what they're called here, but that's the Florida name for them. It allows 2 people to talk.
that's Second Amendment, I believe.
Suppose those 2 members start to discuss
It's only 2, right?
Yes, it allows them to talk about a case
in front of an applicant.
in front of an applicant. No,
No,
Just between each other, between the 2.
As social or other unscheduled occasion. But if they're at a social occasion and some friend of the applicant hears you discussing the
it
business.
doesn't allow that. You can't have it's an ad hoc meeting.
No, you're saying that,
It's among themselves.
wait, 2 members may discuss board business at a social
Yes.
or other unscheduled occasion. It doesn't say they have to be by themselves at a social.
I should be able, and I am able now, to go over to your house on a Saturday and say, Nina, I want to talk to you about this application. that
What
we're
if Nina's
coming-"
having a cocktail party and some of the applicants are there?
Ooh, I'm there.
Then I'm not, then we won't.
Or
do that.
Larry's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Larry's always over
I
drinking at Nina's
certainly
house.
I certainly.
What
well,
kind of
if
cocktails
it's
do you like?
Oh, you know, gin and tonics.
I just don't want to rule out the ability for two members to have a discussion amongst themselves about an application outside of this public forum.
Do select board members get to talk to each
Select
other?
board, select board members can talk to each other about
There you
things that,
go. Like three of
about
you.
select board, town stuff. They could talk about planning boards if they want, but they cannot have three people meeting
There you go.
to talk about it.
3 people or 3
For
board?
three members of the board.
How's it feel to be a role model?
So you can have, so if the two, like, if the two of you ran into each other at Hannaford's and you said, I have a question about this application, that would be fine, whether people.
What did you think about what was
Right,
said
or
on
you
page
just
3?
want a clarification, that would be fine, but if the three of you met up at Hannaford's for some reason in the produce section and you started talking about it, that could not happen.
Now, Nina adds the complication, says, what if a litigant who's gonna come before the board is at that same discussion?
I
would
think,
say,
I think to some, I think at some point, the board has to have, members have to have the discretion to understand this probably is inappropriate
That's-
to have this conversation. So if you were having a cocktail party at your house with one of the applicants, that might actually be inappropriate to have that conversation.
So what it says in your MMA manual is, under no circumstances should board members should meet with someone representing just one side of an issue outside of the public setting.
Right.
So you shouldn't be meeting with the applicant for cocktails.
No, the applicant's not a board.
Period.
I'm sorry, can't have them over, gotta,
Right.
Oh, once they get drunk.
So after the application's approved, then it can be.
oh,
right.
Okay, so you're not meeting with the applicant, you're meeting with the applicant's brother. They're at the cocktail party.
I think at that point, you have to have the discretion to understand
That's
that
right.
you should not, I don't think you have to put in the rules, you should know not to talk
Yeah.
about it.
I don't even talk about it to my family members.
No, and it might come up in the meeting, that's the thing.
talk
If
to
you,
my
if you
dog.
use poor decision, then it might come up at the meeting, they might say you have a conflict, and that, we're all adults, you know, we can all, I think,
I'm fine with it,
police ourselves.
leave it open. I'm not having any cocktail parties.
No, okay.
I am, and I'm not inviting you.
I thought that you were invited to.
Sounded good for a second.
Did?
Okay, so next one is your executive sessions. This one was another,
We've never had,
Ever.
in the time I've been on this.
so I did add a section here because I think there was a lot of questions about the 3/5. And so we did add that section there. This is the 3/5 remark, doesn't clarify if it's only 3 members are present. Similar language has been added in the existing rules under this section. And so I added this little sentence right here that explains what the 3/5
Why don't we
means.
just- let me propose an alternative. What if we just delete the 3/5? Upon a vote of the voting members, the board may go into executive session,
Yes.
and then you don't need that second
Yes.
clarification.
Because what if there are only 3 of us here at a meeting and we decide to have an executive
Yeah,
session?
then
You
that's-
gotta
We
have
can't do
a
it.
quorum, right? And a quorum
Right.
is 3. A quorum of the voting members.
So you want that deleted?
Yeah. All right. What if there are 3 of us and we want to go into executive session and one doesn't want to go into executive session?
Then you can't.
gotta
There's
be
already a
unanim-
section that says it requires unanimity
Okay.
when you only got 3.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You
covered.
need to take out one of the ohs.
Yes.
Put in a comma. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
This was Mike had a comment right here at voting members, and it was just about the
I think
3/5.
we've already got
You know,
it.
we've already discussed
Good
that.
there.
So
So is this sentence fine, or do
I'd like to delete that sentence.
you want to delete this sentence?
Yeah. It's already stated what we need.
Yeah, we sort of begged the question. Yeah. It's nature. Okay.
And that was a section that was added by Larry about it shall not be televised.
Right.
which is, I think, it's a good practice.
What's kind of the reason for having it?
Yeah.
We should have one just because we can.
Yeah, we should. Cocktails there.
Not televised.
And I'll play the attorney.
So, the next section you had, I believe, this was added by Cheryl Perlmutter, about adding on the town's website for regular meetings for the notice.
Yep.
And then there was a comment from Mike about as subsection 2 below, notice placed on website. So he just added that section there for you.
Yeah, and then at the end of 2, where it says shall be placed at town hall and website, town's website.
Yep.
Yeah, it should be above too, right?
Yeah.
It should also, posting the notice at the municipal offices and website should also be above, in the second line.
Which second one?
Where are you? Special work sessions, so special site visits and work sessions. Notice of the special site and workshop meetings may be made by posting at the notice at the municipal offices. And then you go in and the local media, but it should also probably say the website, since it says.
Galen, can I ask, as a matter
No,
of
up
practice,
above.
do we notify any media representatives?
And the website.
The site visits, I thought.
For any,
It's that, and
I don't, maybe we did in the past.
I'm not aware of
I
it.
would just put it on the website, like who are our local media rep, calling Channel 6?
oh,
If we're doing it, then I'm fine with leaving it.
sorry.
Galen,
Yep.
this notion that we notify the media,
Yep.
the representatives of the local media, is that, can you translate that into practice? Do we do anything there, or, I don't know that we need to, but
Yeah.
if we are, then let's leave that.
Yeah, that's a question for our communications team. I'm not sure what they send out.
I don't
for-
think there is such a.
You don't have to do it.
Anyone can subscribe to our document
Oh, yeah,
alerts and get
Well, I think we
notifications.
need
I
to
think
say
that
what
must
our
be archaic.
practice is, so
Right.
maybe we just take a note to find out what our, to
Yep.
reaffirm what our current.
Is
practice
social media local media?
No, I think most people would think newspapers or
website-
TV.
Is.
And town hall.
There's a point in
Yeah.
time in the future where website, we don't use websites anymore.
No, we're using, I don't know how the best,
I
and
think
maybe,
this is
maybe our
adequate.
communications person would have the right language, but these lists that we have, the listserv things that we do, that's our notification process.
Yes.
And however should be officially referring to that, we should capture in this document.
I will say, in referring back, I'm thinking back to the LD 2003.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We put a advertisement in the paper to deal with this.
Okay.
Like, that was our way of,
So
it's in their
And-
paper.
So maybe there is
Right.
a case where for some things we do that.
Right.
But let's not say we do that
For
for
all of them.
everything. If
Yeah,
we're not
I
doing
agree.
that for everything.
I think you are, anytime you're meeting, we have to, if it's outside your regularly scheduled.
No, for every agenda.
Oh, no, we don't do agendas, no. We put a notice in the paper that says this is a
Regular
meeting.
meetings,
Right,
provide copy to the local representatives of the meeting.
yep.
We're not
We
doing
do, it's on the website. I'd take that sentence out.
that. I want to replace it with whatever it is our
Right.
communications person says we are doing.
It could make you feel that you have to post a notice in the
I
newspaper.
think it clearly.
And
makes me feel
if you're not doing that, you should probably just stay silent on it.
But then if
And then LD 2003 is a special one, you decide to put an ad out, that's fine. But in the old days, you used to always have to put public notices in the back of the daily or weekly
So
newspapers.
I'll talk to the communications team. It's always been my understanding that past practice has been, when you establish your annual meeting dates, you would publish that in the local paper and say, these are our meeting dates for all the year.
The problem is we don't have a local paper.
Oh, I don't know what you.
We don't have a local paper.
We don't have a local paper. We used to.
Let's clarify that, because the rules and the procedures require this. And if we're not doing it, we want the flexibility to not have to do it.
Let's just,
And as soon as you find out what it is we're doing.
Yeah, I'd like to think that we spend this energy, it should reflect, it should be like a new person comes on the board and we hand them this and we say,
Here it is.
here it is.
Well, it should also be for the general public to be able to read it and understand.
Yeah,
On the website.
absolutely.
I can't agree with you, George, that
George
does
saw
seem to
about
be
it.
sufficient, but it should be a little more than that.
Yeah.
I should be able to sign up for regular notices, and you know what? We do have that mechanism.
Yeah,
And let's,
Yeah,
it's a good point.
let's just capture what I think
What
some
we're-
people have worked hard to put into place.
what we're
This
doing.
is old.
Yep.
Okay, that's my question to
You-
follow up. Standard meeting agenda,
Call to order, roll call to confirm presence of quorum. Okay.
that's Larry's suggestion, everyone's good with that? Okay.
I got one question here
I had a question also.
on
ahead.
that, was we have currently the public hearing scheduled last. And I thought about that so everybody's got to show up here at 6 o'clock, hang out till we get around to the public hearing sometime in the evening, and they all get bored and walk away.
They don't walk away, but they get very uncomfortable in
Yeah,
those chairs.
so if we're having a public hearing, should it be moved to the top of the agenda?
Well, we've looked at that, and what we need is the flexibility to move the public hearing to the top of the agenda. Because most public hearings, people don't show up for.
Yeah.
But there are some that are contentious, and it's best to move those forward.
Yeah, well, we've just had a couple here recently, and I was thinking instead of having people wait, because it's kind of you don't know how long the others are gonna take, and people hanging out online, again, how long is it gonna take? If for the public, is it
I've
better
been
for
through
them?
that with Galen, and Galen insisted, the way this is worded, we had to put the public hearing at the end. And they told me I had the flexibility to move the public hearing during the meeting to the top, and then I said, well, people coming later to expect a public hearing wouldn't be there.
Can I make an alternate suggestion? Let's talk about and agree what the order of items on the agenda should be, right? And I think it should be in order of the application submittal date. And then whether it has an initial review or a sketch plan or a public meeting, that should be done at that time in that order.
And by the time you get to public meeting, you're usually one of the older ones anyway.
That's right.
Right,
That's
it's a
right. And then
natural
people will look
progression.
at it and they'll say, I'm the third one there, okay, I'm gonna try to time my arrival. But I don't think we should be taking an application and moving its order because we've gone to public hearing time.
No.
If it's always on application time, that's good.
That's what
That'll
I
work.
would,
It just, having it always at the end, the way I read that seemed a bit odd.
I don't think we used to do that, but that, anyway, I think the application order,
And there's a
Would suit me.
natural rhythm to that. Yeah, by the time you get to public meeting, you should be at the top of the agenda anyway, yeah.
more likely.
I'd like to add something, though, that gives the flexibility for the chair to move things around a little bit.
I think you added
It's
that.
actually down there.
How many days in
It's
advance?
down in B.
You added that
Full
in.
Publication of the agenda.
There you go.
I want it
Yeah.
on the agenda if we move things
Yeah,
around.
me too.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, that's good for the public.
Subject to review
So
and discussion
how do you want this changed?
by the chair.
Just 3 to be application review? Is that what you,
But what?
how do you want this standard meeting agenda changed if you want to go from just applications?
We want to take the review of applications,
Mm-hmm,
initial and final, basically. We want to put that in there. And if there's a public hearing, we don't want to schedule it after all of the applications. We want to schedule it basically
In order of,
when the application was submitted.
If you remove number 4 entirely,
Yes.
and public hearings are a part of that application process, so it's inherent in number 3.
Right, and then I would propose that item 3 can just say review of applications.
Right.
And then you could move the section,
Nothing about initial or final.
you can move the section that says, findings of fact, and just stick that under old business, which is where you had it on the agenda this week.
The reason I put initial and final in there is to make sure everybody knows that it's not just one review. You have to come in for the initial review, then we have a public hearing.
That's not true. That's not true. Sometimes you come in for a sketch plan,
Sketch plan,
sometimes you come in for a preliminary, sometimes you come from initial. It's just a matter of what your application is and what stage it's at. Do them in order of the
Of the
application.
application date.
And then whatever the action is,
We'll do it.
Okay,
we'll do it.
all right.
We're versatile.
So we're going to rely on the applicant to determine whether it's a sketch plan.
No, actually, that's in coordination with the town, with the planning department.
Okay,
And it gets put on the agenda.
Same folks will make the agenda.
okay.
That's state. It's a state machine. That
All
state
right.
is tracked.
The deep
Okay.
state.
Well, do you want to mention that I was trying to get at confirming that there's various stages in these applications. That's why I put that in there. I mean, so do you want to just say that the code could be sketch plan, et cetera?
There's a section coming up, I think, that I proposed that talks to that.
Okay.
I sent out an email.
Yeah, I don't like your section, so I'm gonna tell you that ahead.
Yeah, I am surprised.
How about review of
I imagine we
application and
disagree.
order of submission,
Yep.
Yeah, I think in order of,
date of
date
submission?
of submission is a clarifying.
Isn't that the way the agenda is organized right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Except for
clarify.
public.
Except for public hearings have been
That's right.
being put in a different place.
Yeah.
And we're making it so that doesn't occur anymore.
So we're taking out initial and final, because that's not really true,
And just by date of
by date of submission,
submission.
yeah. Okay,
And just to be clear, I know that when we get to the discussion of my draft proposed changes, it will be a fair and thoughtful discussion.
yes.
No doubt.
So I can take out the striked out part about manager will provide summary of outcome of deliberations.
We don't need that.
Okay.
No,
And,
No.
and then the next one seems either it needs a number or it needs to move. Manager will prepare findings of fact.
Yes.
So either it's a conclusion,
Findings of fact will be, what do we want?
We
here?
don't always prepare findings of fact.
Well, yeah, but if we do prepare findings of fact, we want to say, we want the flexibility to put it right after the application or at the end of the agenda.
yeah.
We have in the past had an application where someone just had to make a little change, and they did. We had the public hearing all set and read the findings of fact at that meeting, because we
Yes.
had them prepared in advance.
Right.
Okay.
And, yeah, we started doing that, but we don't have to do
No,
that.
we
I
don't.
want the flexibility for somebody to have some time to prepare the findings
Yeah.
of fact in a complex
I remember
case.
once Spang, I went home to print off one because I had it all done, but they were willing to wait, and so were we.
Right, well, it's not up to the applicant, it's up to us
Correct.
when the application is.
That's correct.
And if you need more time to make an accurate findings of fact, then I want you to have that time,
Right.
because it's the findings of fact that if it gets, the application gets litigated, goes to the court, and what
Correct.
the court is looking at. So you need the time to make sure those findings of fact are correct and detailed.
Yep. Now, in this week's agenda, I was looking to find where 773 Kings Highway was because it wasn't listed under the regular business, and it's now listed under old business. Is that where we want to have findings of facts listed? I'm okay with that, it's just I was unaccustomed to seeing it there.
Yeah, that's where I want some flexibility. Sometimes you want to read it right after the application, and sometimes you may
Good.
want to put it under.
But the
old
applicant
business.
doesn't have to be there, they could skedaddle and we read it
That's
at the
right.
end of the meeting.
Right.
That's right. So do you want to just keep them under old business then?
I think that's handy,
Okay.
yeah, because no one wants to sit through no one wants to sit through a findings of fact.
Not even the person
Except
reading
some of them
it.
do, but let them sit there and wait.
Right,
for it.
that's it.
Okay. Yeah, you can't make everything amenable to the applicant.
No. We do our best, small town life,
That's right.
You never know when you meet them at a cocktail party.
absolutely, at Nina's house.
Cocktails first.
so are you striking that second manager will prepare findings of fact?
Pardon?
Are you
Upon, that sounds like a good word. Can we get a definition for that?
Yeah.
Grey Poupon?
I don't like small keyboards.
The media.
It's not
Anybody
really
live
great.
here when the dentist house was going on in Cape Porpoise?
What?
The dentist's house in Cape Porpoise. Oh my God, everyone couldn't wait for the Wednesday paper to come out to see what was going on next. It was very exciting. It was about 30 years ago. It's gonna block a view.
Oh, is that Zook building?
No, it's a
No.
pre-Zook.
Pre-Zook?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
Can we go back to that last
Been at this much too long.
Number 5, old business?
Yep.
What's the parenthetical now?
It's about finding effects.
Moving find a fax down to old business.
May include,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not includes, may include, because as you say, we
You have other
sometimes
business.
can say, can do it on the day. May include singular. Reading and vote.
That's kind, yeah.
The votes, he's got it at the end.
That's fine.
And vote,
On,
vote.
reading of, on,
Yeah, yeah.
God, it's hard to know which of those to use.
Just pick one.
On,
Can't have.
what's this on? It's closer to the.
Reading of and vote on.
Yeah.
Reading of and vote on.
No, it's okay.
There you go. Now
That's perfect.
that's perfect.
Lovely.
With a period at the end of the sentence.
Well, now
And
it's not letting
sign.
me. Doesn't want me to do it. There you go.
Yeah, period, because it's not a sentence. No period,
This
it's
may.
not a sentence. It's a phrase.
I'll let you guys do the grammar
If we
afterwards.
buy a verb?
Yeah.
Just run it through
Have at it.
ChatGPT.
Next.
I think we're getting close to the time when we've done as much as we can.
Order of which applications are considered. And then we did add there, the chair or presiding member may change the order of the standard meeting agenda.
What does that mean?
That means that the chair can change the order of the agenda based on,
The circumstances.
yeah, circumstances. to
Of the
give you
room.
Flexibility.
At the time, in real time, you're saying?
Yep.
When the,
Well,
Really?
I don't know about that. We put that in because
That's what it says.
we were looking at the public hearings and so forth.
I don't think we want that sentence in there.
I think you want the flexibility to change the order of the standard meeting for the agenda
when the agenda is published.
prior to the agenda being put out. I don't think you want to do it really during the meeting. Well, we have done it during
You
the
do,
meeting.
you've
Yeah.
done it. I
We
mean,
have. We
you
can't
may have a
put something out
situation
of
where you
order
want to.
because somebody didn't show up.
Yeah.
Right.
It happens.
Okay. All right.
If circumstances
No,
require. This just sounds like, at the whim of the chair or presiding member, we can take anybody in any order we want.
yes, well, I think the chair should have that
I like the word whim.
You're not gonna do it, you're not gonna really do it on a whim. You're gonna do it for a reason.
So you don't think the board should do that?
Discretion, how about discretion? I like whim better.
No, we won't say when, but I wanted to make the point that this is going to be read by people who are not in our presence, and it sounds a little arbitrary. Sounds like we put out an agenda, people are gonna come here, they're gonna work their schedules around it, but, you know, at the time, the chair might change it. That's not what's going on.
Yes, it is sometimes.
They're unaccustomed to dictatorial powers.
It is sometimes. Sometimes we wanna take something out of order if an
The
applicant doesn't
education
show
or
up.
indoctrination.
You know,
camp.
and they
Re-education
show up
camp,
and we
yeah.
say,
I
okay,
know,
we're
it's
gonna take you
indoctrination,
now.
I believe is the
Or we're
term
gonna take you
used.
after the next application, we've already started that. You need to have some flexibility there.
I don't disagree. All I'm saying is that isn't what I think this says.
Ed, are you thinking about putting guardrails on that just say that maybe the chair or presiding member may change the order of the standard meeting agenda unless overridden by the majority of members? No? Is that, I don't know what your,
Say that it would be, what type, why would that happen?
You might happen if you had somebody that you know was gonna be a long, drawn-out conversation, and you got somebody who could wrap up in 5 minutes. And you don't want them having to sit here, listen to the long, drawn-out conversation, when everyone kind of agrees you could have someone out of here in 5 minutes. And the chair may know that at that point, right, and you don't know that when you set the agenda, but you know it when you come to the meeting. Or someone doesn't show up, or they show up late.
Right, so I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on how to say that, but, what did we say earlier?
Depending on circumstances.
If circumstances
Warrant.
As warrant.
Circumstances
That
warrant.
doesn't say anything.
It says
No.
you did it for a reason and not arbitrarily. And this just says.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna walk into a meeting
I'm
and
not
say, we're
saying
gonna
you
change.
are, I want this to say what you're going to do. I'm not accusing you.
No, no, I
I'm
know,
saying, this is what we do, we thoughtfully do this, if circumstances warrant.
If
If you do that, I'm
I think
happy
it's
my
implicit
issue
in
is
there.
addressed.
You can change the order.
And you might not always be the chair, it might not be somebody always with such discretion.
no, I.
You have to be the vice chair.
I think any chair, whether it be you or me or George or Larry or
So
Mike,
you understand that we don't agree on that point?
yes, we don't
Okay.
agree on that.
All right.
I think the language is fine as it is. You
I think,
don't have to
it's
add
implicit.
verbiage to it.
It's implied.
Would
It's
you mind
implied.
if we add, if circumstances warrant,
No,
chair?
I think it's implied,
I think it's implied.
okay?
The chair can change the order.
So do you want to, no,
If you
Why-
put
why don't
something in
we-
that
why don't we
says,
move
you know,
on and
based
think
on
about it?
circumstances, then someone could challenge, well, those circumstances don't warrant changing it. If it says that the chair can change the order, the chair can change the order.
That's right.
so do you want to say the chair or presiding
I'm
member?
fine, I'll defer
may
to the chair on
change
this.
The order of the, any meeting agenda?
I
Any
will
meeting
defer to the
agenda.
chair on this.
So-
Do they change it during the meeting, at the beginning of the meeting, or a week before the meeting?
Or is
No,
it
it would be at the meeting,
all the above?
Anytime.
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 That's fine. We're gonna take the second one first because the first applicant isn't here, they're stuck in the snow, and they'll be here.
So, but do you want, but instead of, but do you want to delete the word standard and say meeting agenda?
Yeah.
Just delete the word standard.
Standard.
well, you have a standard meeting agenda up here, that's
Yeah,
why.
Just delete the
Or
word.
delete it everywhere.
And just say agenda.
Meeting agenda.
Yeah,
Say
meeting
agenda.
agenda, yeah, that's it, yeah. Of the meeting. You just delete the word agenda of the meeting.
No, it's there, agenda's right down here. For some reason, when the edits were made, it goes down to this little,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why. When we accept it, it'll go back up,
Do you
but,
want to delete the word agenda is my question? Just order of the meeting.
is that what you,
No,
You leave a word agenda in there?
Well, most people probably know there's an agenda, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's leave it.
okay.
Yeah, all right.
Your time limits, which I think is, something that, we have on here is 10 o'clock, but I don't think we've ever done that, so,
When we were 7.
yeah.
Yeah, we were at 7.
So, I did that calculation, I was like, you know what, I'll put 3 hours here, you guys can decide if you want that as 3 or if you want it 2.
that's a good change.
An hour and
Okay.
a half,
Hour and a half, that's it.
my attention span.
Unless we're talking.
Mike's gonna have the stopwatch to,
The gong. The gong will go off.
and then this section here, this was from Larry.
What number am I at?
Is everyone fine with,
Yeah, because what if we're really, engaged in some conversation, we want to keep going.
Larry's a Superman, he has this brain power of focus that he can,
Right now, what you said
Yeah,
You're suggesting that we won't continue any business
Yeah,
after
after,
3 hours.
after 3 hours, unless we all agree.
I'd be okay with that. Yeah, 'cause I get tired.
Absolutely.
I have been in meetings where the chair has extended for a reason.
Yeah.
We've got 10 more minutes, we can finish it.
Okay. Um, This one was about town staff assisting the planning board, to forward applications. We talked about this before regarding preliminary reviews, to get the expert information ahead of time for you all to make a decision, for peer review of initial application reviews. And then Larry added this next section right here.
Well, I added that just, so that we could discuss the timing if we wanted to during the meetings.
You jumped the mailing.
Did I?
Yeah.
Which one I jumped?
We're on D.
You jumped B and C.
D.
Well, I was looking for changes. I didn't see any other.
Did you want the mailing and how?
I had one
Oh,
on A.
yeah,
Oh,
you
you
did.
do? Oh. Okay, back to A.
Back to A, sorry.
Only one question I had on A, we have requirements for other people to get information in. Should we have a note in there about when the public should get information in?
No.
They can have
We've always
it-
accepted information from the public right up practically to the meeting.
To
And
the
if we get it, if we don't get it, we just indicate to them, I'm sorry that we didn't get it.
That
It's
happened
very
recently.
late."
Yeah.
But we've always allowed the flexibility for the public to make comments, emails, so forth.
But when they're coming in an hour before the meeting, it's kind of hard for us
It's
to.
very hard, and we may just have to say, I'm sorry, but none of us have had a chance to read it. And so they
If
have
it's a
the
public
chance to
hearing,
come-
then we'll hear
They
them.
have the
Yeah,
chance
they
to come
hear
to
it.
the meeting or Zoom in and read the material or say what they need
If
to
they
say.
want to do, okay.
Or send a representative.
And we take and read things before the public hearing, you
We
know,
do.
so.
Not consistently, but we have as warranted. At the discretion of the chair.
So the question for your time submission, I did put a thing, just a note here. It says, does this conflict with your requirements for subdivision application submissions? Should we make this uniform?
Yes, I think it does.
How does it conflict?
I believe they have to submit it 30 days ahead of time instead of 14. The site plan's 14.
Well,
So-
subdivisions tend to be more voluminous. I think that's the reason for the 30
Yeah,
days.
I don't see any reason to shorten that.
No, I wouldn't want to shorten that. Subdivisions tend to be very,
Well, again, your time of submissions, it doesn't say anything about, it just says at least 14 business days.
So maybe you break it out. If there's a difference between subdivision and regular, then you might have to have A and B, or A1 and A2, or however, you know what I mean? Because it, again, from the public standpoint, they don't go through this all the time.
Right.
They want to know. So if there's one that's 30 and one that's 14, then they have to be each stated.
Agreed.
Okay, so I'll add that language there. I just wanted some feedback from the board. Next section is your mailing or delivery to members. Are we all fine changing this to the mailboxes? I think that worked fairly well for everyone.
yeah, if you send a notice, so I'm
Yes.
so glad, yeah, pick it up.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, do I get a parking space at town hall?
Same
I
one
was
you've always
just-
gotten.
I was assuming I can park in the ones labeled for town people anymore because I got a box.
I do.
I do.
Yeah,
Just pull them back. Take an open space. You're on town business.
Yep.
there you go. All right, I'm
As long
taking
as that's-
over.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring my motor home in
You
there.
can't go to lunch after. Park
Yeah,
there.
they're
Not a Big Daddy's, yeah.
Yeah, the 2-hour limit doesn't apply.
Now he's putting conditions on it, I
What's a
tell you.
plaque?
Just bring a cone.
Okay.
Power comes responsibility.
First mistake, giving me responsibility.
I'm just putting a note for myself so I don't forget.
And the planning department shall let us know when it's
Yeah,
stuff in our mailbox.
That's the key thing,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Yeah, I thought it worked well this time.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys know 7 days before the meeting that
oh, yeah.
whatever's there is there, and what's not, then it's not on the agenda.
So could I propose to delete the second sentence? It suggests that the board is declining to consider applications. I think the application has not been made if it doesn't get there 14 days in advance. I don't think the board is being negative about this or turning people down. It's just,
That's supplemental.
it has to be there.
That's supplemental information, that last sentence.
No, the second sentence.
The second sentence deals with members, dealing with members. The application gets into the office, that's when it gets a stamp that the application has been received.
The board may decline
Let's say a
to
recent,
consider an application unless they have received the information at least 14 days in advance.
Right.
if
I
we
don't
had,
think
like, there was
that's-
a recent one, and
I don't
let's
think
say
that's
it
reasonable.
had come in 7 days beforehand, and we had all gotten to read it, and we decided, well, it's okay, we'll go ahead and hear it. Or if it's a correction to something. If we got it in 7 days, we might, consider doing, I don't know. I'm out of my
I
element.
think we're slicing and dicing here. We just said the material has to be there 14 days in advance,
Period, there we go,
and it's gonna be available to us then.
yes.
Do I want to put something in there that says a board member can decline to review an application if they don't go pick up their mail for
No,
6
you
days?
cannot.
It's there
I mean,
14 days.
That
no,
second
that's right.
sentence, I think,
Gives
is
the-
confusing, and it suggests that the board has some discretion beyond the applicant getting the material to them on time.
Just remove the sentence,
You just change the sentence.
I would like to just remove this.
remove the whole sentence.
Just adding, to me, it
I just
added
lost another
confusion.
power.
I don't want that power.
No, me neither.
Okay.
Thank you.
Like 9 Cleves Avenue, I wish we had gotten it in time, but we didn't.
Well, he gave it to you in time, right? I mean, it was, he did what he was supposed to do.
Yep.
It
Gave it
just,
to the
the
post office.
post office didn't help
Right.
in the situation.
And there's a whole body of federal law on that,
So are we at
postmarks,
the,
et cetera.
See,
See?
I have a question for you. I think that there should be an inactive application, I think it should be more, where it says, comma, the application or request shall be void. I think there should be a period there. It's void. And you stop, full stop, and then the next sentence should be, to some extent, the board may, yeah, just word that. But I mean, from the public standpoint, if you haven't done it, it's done, it's void.
We have several applications that are about to come forward.
We do?
pickleball?
It hasn't been 6 months.
Not
It's
6
been
months.
4 months.
Not yet,
It's
that's
been
right.
4 months, but it's getting close.
It's getting there.
That's the oldest one I can think of.
Which one is that?
Pickleball.
Yes.
So,
I would
so,
say then the board,
so.
Summer's
so
gone, they've lost
Is the
interest.
board just automatically gonna vote on an extension?
no, I think you could say that,
Or is it gonna be in response to a request from the applicant? So
In response to a request.
should applicant request, comma, the board may vote an extension.
and you may not, right?
Yeah, right.
One or more extensions of time on request from the applicant may be granted by the board. Or on request from the applicant, one or more extensions of time may be granted by the board, but the expiration date shall be no later than 1 year from the date of the original project.
And I was gonna put a period after the board, granted by the board, period, and then in the next sentence should say,
Should applicant request, the board may vote to extend.
I thought Nina's words.
No, at applicant's request, one or more extensions of time may be granted by the board, but the expiration date shall be no later than 1 year.
You're editing the last sentence.
The last
Galen's
sentence.
typing on the sentence before that.
We don't need the sentence before that.
We don't need a sentence before that?
Take it out.
oh, no,
Yeah.
you wouldn't need it if you're gonna stick with the last
If you're gonna stick with the last, if you're gonna stick with
Let's go with the last
Last
sentence,
sentence.
but Nina has a
Delete the
proposed change
second.
to it.
Yeah, delete unless
The board votes.
the board votes an extension of time, delete that.
Please.
There you go. Now it's clean.
Now, at applicant's request, one or more can go
Yeah.
on with the rest of the sentence.
Yeah,
Yeah, that did it.
so
Keep going.
insert at, there we go.
Oh.
At the
applicant's
applicant's.
request. There we go. Comma, one or more.
Oh, why is it not let me autocorrect it? There we go.
There we go. Yeah. So the implication is if it's more than a year, then they have to start the application process all over again.
Yep.
So do they have to make that request before the application becomes void?
No,
Okay,
Renewing a library book.
as long as it's within 1 year from the day of the
Yep.
original filing.
yep.
No fine is assessed.
Oh, maybe we should put a fine in, we can make that.
Do a new fee.
That's the new
Yes,
fine,
it
is
is.
that they have to reapply.
They gotta reapply, that's
The
the,
planning board becomes a revenue stream.
You're gonna double your salary.
Great.
No, we'll have that cocktail party.
there you go.
Lobster rolls at the annual banquet.
There we go.
So
We'll,
talk
we'll
about
cancel the meeting and have
Yeah,
executive
the-
session.
At the Burger King.
I use description.
So I would like to, there's language somewhere else that I read that had to do with, maybe it's in the ordinance that authorizes there being a planning board, but this thought that if the town thinks it doesn't have expertise, it may want to engage outside experts. And that's kind of what we do. That's kind of what this is talking about. Given that, you know, I think that the town has that discretion, but I think here we should be restricting this to
Some of them.
stormwater.
I rejected the ones that we didn't.
Only, I don't,
I don't think we want the town basically to be hitting up the applicant for funds and for things that the board may not.
That's why I think it needs to be, the
Approved by the
town
board.
can do it, but, or by the chair, someone that needs
It'll be
to.
agreed in advance with the board. You can
Yeah.
email the board and say,
yeah.
I think we should get an expert opinion on this subject. Can I send it to, and then you just say yes or no.
Okay, so we
And
would,
if you have a
So there's a
quorum, you
crowd
can
cover.
send it.
Yeah.
so we would do that at a board meeting.
No, we would do it in advance by email.
Whoa, that's a board meeting. That's an out of sequence board meeting.
Okay.
Can it just be the chair then, instead of the board?
Well, I probably wanna discuss it a little bit. If it's for more than stormwater, we probably wanna talk about it,
That's what I thought.
yeah.
So
What would it be?
that's what we need some clarification because you're waiting 30 days.
You might want some engineering on a new design on
Yeah.
something.
That's nothing that the board would be worried about.
It might be. It might be.
Like what?
George would.
We worried about
We do
engineering
it with
before.
Legal consults. You know?
Again, I think from a developer perspective, one thing that's I think this process maybe needs to be looked at is we're holding the application for 30 days to review.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking subdivision.
Yes, subdivisions. And you don't have all the material at all the insight at your disposal. You know, the staff can do so much. We can do setbacks and we can look at lot coverages and those types of things. But we're not experts in stormwater and those technical analysis reviews that are needed as part of your initial review
I
process.
don't see why the town needs the board's permission to ask for that expertise. The town wants that before they're gonna authorize it.
I have nothing spelled out that says that I can do that. I need that.
So is it in something in, you've done your initial review and you're like, hey, we need something on stormwater, so therefore I need to make
If it comes to
advice?
code
Yeah.
enforcement, and he says, I
So
want
could
to
that
do
just be a
this.
conversation with her, like, we're gonna send this
Okay,
out?
If somebody comes to you on a matter that doesn't gonna go before the board, which just happens 80% of the time
Yep.
anyway, and they have some new and innovative design approach that no one in your office has looked at before, and they're saying, well, I know it's safe and all, and say, show me the civil engineering.
Right.
And they say, well, we haven't done that. You say, go get it.
Yeah,
You have that authority.
we do have that,
Right.
yes.
You're saying, but you don't for stormwater?
No,
It has to meet the code.
it's going in front of you for a planning board review. You're now the reviewing authority. I'm not the reviewing
We'll look to
authority.
you, though, to say, does it meet the code or not?
Again, I'm not,
It's not
town
you
staff,
personally,
we are not the reviewing authority for subdivision applications. That's,
No, but you are for code enforcement.
yes, yes.
And the board isn't saying, we're gonna go look at this whole thing technically. And I know a lot of times we talk about the letters on the steel and whether or not they, are the right level of stainless and all of that, but that is not the board's primary
All right,
function.
well, let's take something that's in the board's purview. We just had an application where the condo people came in and they wanted to put stones on the wall, okay? And it ended up with us telling them, we need an engineering review on this. Now, it could have been that Galen recognized this and sent out to us an email and said, I'd like authorization to tell the applicant before he comes before the board, we're probably gonna need engineering review on this. If you wanna expedite your application, you should get it ahead of time.
I'm fine with that. I'm shocked that he needs the board's permission to do that.
But he does, because we are the reviewing authority.
I'm not the
now.
reviewing authority.
He's not the code enforcement for a regular house on a conforming lot would be the reviewing authority. But when it comes before the planning board in shoreland zone or resource protection zone, we become the reviewing authority.
I'm not clear on that. I understood this to be, in addition to code enforcement, which is always the reviewing authority, the planning board review is required on the shoreland zone ones, and on subdivisions. But this does not say in lieu of the code enforcement office, not at all.
The code enforcement, to clarify, the code enforcement office, Ed is correct, that we are the reviewing authority for building codes, but not for plan reviews that are going in front of the planning board. So there's a distinction,
But you'll agree that it's tightly interwoven,
yeah.
yeah,
But it's,
which is why we're all here.
that's why with code enforcement, any objection to what code enforcement does goes to the zoning board of appeals, but if it's before the planning board, it goes to the court.
So, it sounds like Galen is gonna get the application, he's gonna do initial review. He may find some things in there that, to Nina's point, that you're gonna need to know, you're gonna have to go out and get a study like this, with that seawall.
Yes.
In fairness to the town residents, and the person, rather than make them wait till they come here and then you kind of tell them, if he knows that, he lets you guys know ahead of time, hey, you're gonna need this, I think you're gonna need this, and Nina gives you okay to go get it, then I think that saves everyone time, rather than delaying it.
I agree.
So but he needs permission
To
for
me,
you
it's,
to
to
do
me,
that.
it's notification, but yes, if you want to class it as permission, and then I think,
You think he has the
Did it-
authority to do it?
I do, and I think that, given that feeling, I should be fine with the chair okaying it and not coming to us for
Yeah.
discussion. I worry that, there's monies attached to this and everything else, but this is the code enforcement office, guys. They're not capricious. They are, in the limit, gonna say whether or not these homes get built.
But they're making the decision for the planning board if they do it without authority.
They're saying that they want this information, and it's gonna be available for the planning board. The planning board looks at it. What are the chances the planning's gonna say, oh, I didn't need this at all? No, it's additional
Oh, yeah.
information.
Yeah.
As long as it's done in that spirit, that this is technical expertise,
Yeah.
I think that's the way we operate.
I agree.
Well, it'll be one time of forwarding such applications, the expert consultants will be agreed in advance with the chair or the presiding
I
member.
think that'll be easier, and it will get us out of that
Yeah.
problem of having an ex officio
Yeah.
meeting.
So just that last sentence, put of the chair.
Of the chair.
Yeah.
of the
So,
chair.
so once the decision's made, you want to send just a courtesy copy to the board members to let us know that's what's happening? Or does it matter?
No, I think
Within
that's
14 days.
Yeah, you
Joe.
can CC everybody else.
Just CC everybody for info, for your information, this is what's happening? Because, if this does happen, it'd be interesting to know that.
Yes,
Absolutely.
to know that something's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, to be ready for something to appear in the application.
That's a good point.
I mean, it's something I can put in my memo too, if it's helpful, like put a note saying we've discussed this with the applicant and they're going to supply this at a,
Yeah,
Yep, that would
that would be great, yeah.
Mhm.
Just send an information notice.
Timing of forwarding of such applications to expert consultants will be agreed in advance
With the chair.
with the chair or presiding member and the board notified.
Yeah, and, the board knows.
with the chair or presiding member.
And notice to the board,
And noticed to the board, yes,
noticed, N-O,
with a
and a
D.
D.
There you go,
I like it.
that's perfect, okay, great.
And this is a new subsection.
Are we at the 12 o'clock midnight limit yet?
Are you a pumpkin yet?
I am.
I'm definitely pumping on.
I'm about ready to turn into something.
Could I propose
about
that
halfway.
we consider adjournment?
I second.
What's our new business?
There's a motion to
We have-
adjourn on the
we have
table.
new business. What's our new business here?
It'll
So
be
hang on,
old
so we're
business.
suspending further discussion on this for the moment, is that right?
Oh, that was the procedure for the applications, which you sort of already covered under your rules discussion.
Oh, good, let's
Yep.
consider that done.
That's done, and your finding of facts was the other new business, so you're all done.
And you
All
did
right.
that.
Okay.
So
So
now,
why am I here?
Cocktails.
Is there a motion?
There is a motion.
There was a motion,
and
there was a
motion
second.
Seconded. We're hanging fire.
all right, this is good.
I don't know,
okay.
you haven't taken
I
your
have
vote,
I have
though.
a motion to make. I have a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
It's already been made.
Oh, it has?
It's been seconded, you just all need to vote.
I approve.
Yeah, me too.
Was it seconded?
Yes.
Yes, just say
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.